Good evening, ladies. In today's video, we're going to be diving into my computer and I'm going to show you exactly how you can earn like 1000% APY, 100% APY, basically risk-free on Hyperliquid. And not only that, we're also going to be farming multiple airdrops while implementing these strategies. And there's easy ways to do it, and then there's more manual ways to do it. I'm going to go through all of them and you can choose like what suits you the best. The reason I'm making this video, this is going to be a quick one, but in my last video I said that I was selling small portions of my Bitcoin and throwing it into some of these strategies because I think it's potentially a better risk to reward opportunity or a better way to structure my own portfolio. And I got a lot of questions of people asking me how to do this like in a bit more detail. So we're just going to show you quickly how to do that. And I also want to give a big thank you to Ran from Crypto Banter. Gave me a huge shout out on one of his streams. So yeah, that gave me a big boost in subscribers and views. So we're almost at 10,000 subscribers. It took me a while, but yeah, we finally made it there, baby. So welcome to all the newbies on my channel. If you want to get involved more with my community, you can join my free Telegram where I was just chatting about, degenerate plays, obviously on the Degenvestor channel, but this strategy isn't that Degenvestor. It's not that degen. It's actually kind of a little bit, trying to be less degen and trying to get like just yields and stuff. So yeah, with all that said, let's dive straight into these strategies on Hyperliquid. Right, so the majority of this strategy revolves around farming this yield that you can get. And this is the leverage yield or the perp yield on, for this one, Farcoin, but sometimes it's much higher. Like Floki right now is 91% annually. So how can we actually earn this 90% annual yield? And these change all the time, but most of the time in a bull market, these are going to be positive. And sometimes they're negative if people are trying to short them. So basically, if it's highly positive, it means people are paying a lot in order to long Floki in this case. So basically, the longs are paying 90% to the shorts in order to long Floki. So basically what this is, and if you know how perpetual futures work, you can just skip ahead into the strategies. I'll leave a timestamp in the video if I remember. Otherwise, probably just skip forward by a minute. But basically, a perpetual future is a derivative of the real spot token price. So, for example, Floki, or let's just go with... So basically what this means, a perpetual future is a derivative of the real spot Bitcoin. This isn't real Bitcoin that you're trading. It's a derivative of Bitcoin. And in order to bring the perp price, perpetual future price, in line with the spot price, there is a funding rate to... Basically, people are paying 50% to basically lever up on Bitcoin right now. They're paying 50% APY to people who are shorting. So basically, how do you capture this? So basically the idea is if there's much more longs than shorts on the Bitcoin perp, the longs have to pay the shorts, and the higher the spread becomes, like the higher the difference between the perp price and the spot price, the higher the funding gets to encourage people to short it back down to match the real spot token price. So how do you capture this yield? All you have to do is short Bitcoin. But then you're like, oh, well, if Bitcoin comes up, obviously you're going to lose a lot of money. But then you can just, the way to get around that is to buy the same amount of Bitcoin. So for example, I don't have any money in this account, but say I wanted to short, let's say 0.1 Bitcoin, 0.1 Bitcoin, I would short it and I would get, what's that, like $1,100, $1,200. So I'm shorting $1,200 worth of Bitcoin and I'm going to earn 50% APY on that. How do I make sure I'm not losing money if Bitcoin goes up? Well, I just buy 0.1 Bitcoin on Coinbase or in Hyperliquid. So it's actually probably easier to do it in Hyperliquid itself. So this is the perp, but you can actually trade spot Bitcoin in Hyperliquid. See, there's no funding here. So you can just go ahead, buy 0.1 Bitcoin. And now you're perfectly hedged and you're just going to capture the yield on the perp. So that's basically the risk-free way to earn yield on your USDC. Basically, all your money is going to be tied up in this 0.1 Bitcoin, which is you're going to be spending 12 grand on it. And then you're going to short. I forgot to say, when you're shorting, have a lot of collateral, some USDC in your account and do it on cross. So then you're much less likely to get liquidated, because you don't want to get liquidated with this strategy. So you go cross and it'll tell you your liquidation price there, and you just have to top up your margin account. So put USDC into your perps balance down here. So in this account I have $1,000 and I'll get liquidated at 234. So I'm not going to get liquidated if I did this trade. And you might as well just whack up the leverage for this, as long as you have enough margin in your account. So just whack up the leverage, put 0.1 Bitcoin, and then you're going to be earning that funding, 50% on Bitcoin. And that's pretty much risk-free funding. You're going to be farming the next Hyperliquid airdrop, and you're going to be farming the Unit protocol airdrop. And if you don't know what that is, basically Unit is a sister project of Hyperliquid, where, you know, they're putting wrapped versions of, they have Hype, Bitcoin. I don't think Hype is a unit coin, but nevertheless, they have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Pump, Sol, and Filecoin. They're the main Unit protocol spot tokens that you can trade on Hype. So you'd be farming if you're buying or trading any of these on the spot, and I think that's definitely worth farming. Now, if that all sounds a little bit complicated to you, you can use something like Liminal, and that's exactly what I'm showing you here on this account. Essentially, this is a sub account anyway, that's neither here nor there, but Liminal basically does this automatically for you. I put a couple of grand in here, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and I made $21 so far, and it's basically doing the exact same strategy except on your behalf automatically. And you can see I got 12% APY. So yes, this is nice because it's automatic and you don't need to know what you're doing or anything. You just need to deposit, and then that's it. But for me personally, and you can kind of change your strategy to get the highest yield ones. So like I said, Bitcoin, Hype, Filecoin. So basically what it's doing the exact same strategy that I said, but only with the coins that are available on Hyperliquid, with spot coins available on Hyperliquid, which are Bitcoin, Hype, Filecoin, Solana, Ethereum, and Pump. They're all available spot on Hyperliquid, but you don't have, like, for me personally, I prefer doing this myself manually because I can take advantage of anything with the highest funding. So right now, HBAR has the highest funding. So I can short HBAR and then just buy it, you know, on Coinbase or something. I wouldn't do that, but maybe AI16Z, like this has really high funding. I can capture 69% funding, and then I can just go to Jupiter and buy AI16Z here, AI16Z, and I can just buy the same amount. So say I would want to buy like I want to short $1,000 worth of AI16Z here, capture 69%. Again, do it on cross margin, do it on the max leverage. So you're using the least amount of USDC and getting the most amount of funding. And then you can just buy the same amount that you short. So make sure if you're shorting, okay, I can't show you, but if you short $1,000 worth, not how much margin you're using, how much the total position is. So if you short here, it would be the order value, not the margin. That's the amount that you're shorting. So say that's $1,000 worth that you're shorting, then you have to buy $1,000 worth here to be hedged. So in case AI16Z absolutely rips, doesn't matter because you own it in your Solana account and you're shorting it here. So you're basically completely hedged, but you'll capture this yield. Now, Liminal that I was talking about only works or only uses coins that are available on Hyperliquid Spot. So you can't do this with coins that aren't available on Hyperliquid Spot. So this is the easy way to do it. And it also doesn't allow you to lever up either. So I like to lever up, so I'm getting the most bang for my buck and then using cross margin. But it's still a very, you know, useful and easy way to do it. And if you need a invite code, I can get you some. The other thing you can do is you can swap to an institutional. So I can't show you how to do this. I think I showed you in a different video before. But if you swap to an institutional, it'll create a sub account like this. And then basically you're going to be farming all the airdrops as well. So it's probably worth changing to an institutional So just work out how to do that if you're like, if you care. Otherwise, just capture this easy 12% yield. The last easy strategy that we're going to talk about is, instead of being hedged, say you want to start taking profits on your Bitcoin, on your Solana, you think the bull market's coming to an end. So instead of just selling Bitcoin spot, like if you're trading, I would recommend trading on Hyperliquid. Use my referral link in the description. But if you're selling Bitcoin, if you're doing any sort of trading, do it on Hyperliquid because it's cheaper and you're going to be farming the next Hyperliquid airdrop. So it might as well do it instead of using Coinbase, unless you're like swapping out into fiat and taking it out. Anyway, that's like besides the point. But say you want to start cashing out of crypto and you think the cycle's coming to an end, but like you want to, still earn some yield at the same time, what you could do, instead of just selling your Bitcoin on Coinbase, you could come into Hyperliquid and just short the same amount of Bitcoin. So you keep the Bitcoin in your hardware wallet or in Coinbase, in your Coinbase account. So say you want to sell $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. Instead of just selling that straight up, you could just go and short $1,000 worth of Bitcoin in Hyperliquid, and you keep the Bitcoin that you are going to sell. You keep that. So then you're kind of hedged in that way. You've decided, I've sold my Bitcoin at this price. I've sold $1,000 worth. And now your $1,000 worth that you've sold, you're earning 50% on that rather than, and like you're still hedged because the Bitcoin you would have sold, you still own it. So even if Bitcoin goes up, you're still hedged, and you can even put it into your Hyperliquid account. In case you're scared that you'll get liquidated, you don't have enough margin, you can just put the Bitcoin in here, and then if you're getting close to a liquidation, you can just sell the Bitcoin that you would have sold and close the short, and that will balance it out, and you will have just captured the 50% yield for free instead of just selling the Bitcoin straight up. Just capture that 50% APY over the next few months. Why not? by simply shorting. Same thing with Solana. Like right now, people are being so degenerate, like just paying so much to go levered long. Everyone's so bullish, so you might as well take advantage of that and capture some of these crazy yields that people are paying in order to go long. Now, like I said, you don't have to just do it for people who are longing. There's also plenty of stuff that people are shorting. So the way to capture this yield, like you can only really do this if you're holding this token anyway. So there's probably, right now, people aren't really shorting that much. People aren't paying a lot, but I've seen people paying like, hundreds of percent APY to go short this. So the way you would do this is you obviously just do the inverse. So you just long $1,000 worth or whatever amount. So if you wanted to capture this 47% funding, you would long it. But basically, you would only really do this if you are holding this token anyway. So say you have $1,000 worth of Blast in your MetaMask account on the Blast chain, and you want to hold that anyway. And you think it's bullish, and you're happy to hold that for a few months or whatever, and you're holding it anyway. Instead of holding that and not getting anything on it, just sell the Blast that you're holding in your wallet, sell it all, the $1,000 worth, and just long the same amount here, and then you're going to get 50% APY for going long on Blast instead of holding it in your wallet. So you get a 50% boost. So that's how you would do the inverse. Now, obviously, you have to be holding the token in order for it to be delta hedged. This is how you can see the coins that are the most shorted and the most longed. Or you can go to this, which is cool, funding comparison. So this is showing you on an annualized basis, like people are paying 660% annualized to short SOF, whatever the fuck SOF is. So I don't know where you can buy that. I don't know what that is, but there you go. You can get 660% if you long this coin. So if this coin doesn't go 6x down in a year, you've made money by longing it. And then the inverse is this way. The other cool thing you can do, this is probably a bit of a stress, but another risk-free way you can do this is you can look at these Binance to Hyperliquid ARB, and it even tells you what to do So short coin on Hyperliquid and long it on Binance, and basically you're going to be hedged. So you can long this coin on, so you long this coin on Binance and you short the same amount on Hyperliquid and you get 300% APY, and you don't have to hold spot anywhere. So this is a really cool little thing that Hyperliquid does for you, and yeah, it even tells you how to do it. So that's kind of handy. So if you don't know where to buy, or you can do this in a hedged way by doing it this way. So short it on Binance, long on Hyperliquid. So that's really cool as well. Okay, now we're going to start getting additional yield on the strategy we were just talking about. So this is when things get interesting. Hyperliquid right now only has 10% annualized funding, but this has been, this changes every hour. Like a lot, I've seen this when it's like 60%, 50%, 40%, 80%, all over the place, but it's almost always positive because people are paying to go long hype. So for a long time, I've had a big delta neutral short on Hyperliquid, and I've earned really good funding on that because the funding keeps, like, people are so bullish on Hyperliquid, and I'm very bullish on Hyperliquid as well. But I've done the delta neutral hedge that I've talked about. So basically shorting Hyperliquid perp and then buying more spot Hyperliquid, the same amount spot. So basically what ends up happening when I do that trade is I'm going to have hype. Like I have 10 hype, 11 hype sitting in my account. So what can you do with this Hyperliquid? One thing you could do is you could click staking, and then you could stake the Hyperliquid. So you could just click the staking button, really, really simple to do, and you're going to get 2% yield on this hype that is delta hedged. So instead of just getting the 10%, you're going to add another like 2 or 3% on top of that, which is really, really nice as well. Similarly, you could do the same thing with Sol. So say you short Sol, so you're getting 55% funding. Instead of just buying it spot in Hyperliquid, you would go to Jupiter. You say, I'm going to buy 1,000 USDC worth of Sol. And instead of buying Sol, buy Jito Sol. And Jito Sol is a liquid staking token of Sol. And you're going to be hedged. No matter which way Sol goes, you're not going to lose money, but you're going to get the staking rewards from Solana, which is like 6 or 7%, plus this 55% funding. So that's kind of an easy way to boost your yield. The even more high way to boost your yield by, multiples, you would take this Hyperliquid, for example, the hype that you have here, or the Sol that you have here, or the PER that you have here, like any of these coins that you're doing this delta neutral trade, and you could go to something like Project X. So use my link in the description for this. So you go to Project X and you can see APRs. You're going to have all this hype sitting idly in your wallet. You're going to have hype, any of these spot ones, hype, Bitcoin, ETH, Pump, Sol. You're just going to have them sitting in here, so you might as well put them to work on the Hype EVM. You're going to be farming the unit airdrop, like I talked about, and now you're going to be farming the Hyperliquid airdrop from using the PER platform, but also from using the Hyper EVM, and you're going to be farming these airdrops. So Project X is one that I definitely recommend doing. Let's talk about the easy one, Kinetiq, really, really good one to use as well. So instead of just staking your Hyperliquid in here, click transfer to EVM. So there's going to be a button here, transfer your hype to EVM, or transfer your Bitcoin to EVM, transfer your Farcoin to EVM. For hype, you can liquid stake your Hyperliquid here. So the $1,000 worth of hype you staked, the $1,000 worth of Hyperliquid spot that you bought that you're also short, you can stake it here, and you're going to be earning this airdrop. You're going to be earning points, and you're going to get an extra 2% yield on that hype that you're hedged against anyway. So it's a free 2% yield on top of that. The way to get even more yield is to provide liquidity on pairs on something like Project X. So these are like the highest APRs that you can get. Hyperliquid versus USDT. So you just swap the Hyperliquid into USDT. Obviously, there's some permanent loss that you can get. So that's why, this isn't like risk-free yield, because if one of them, basically you want to find pairs that are going to perform similarly in your mind. An example of that would be something like Hyperliquid and Per, which you can do the trade that I just talked about for both of them. So for example, Hyperliquid and Per, you can short both of them on Hyperliquid. So I'll show you. Hype, you're getting 10% yield, and Per, you're getting, pretty sure it's crazy good yield right now, 72%. So you can do that trade. You're going to get 72% yield on the Per and another 10% yield on the Hype. Then you put them into this pool and you're going to get an extra 30%. Now, obviously, we're not going to, like, if you don't know what you're doing here, maybe watch my Meteora how to provide liquidity video if you don't understand what's going on here. But, you know, you can set your own ranges, and, like, there is a chance that you can lose money doing this. So if you don't know what you're doing, like, don't do this, but this is what I'm doing. And, you know, you choose coins that should perform similarly. So something like Per and Hype probably going to perform somewhat similarly. Another one that I like is something like Sol and Hype. You know, they're probably in the long term, like, one might outperform one a little bit, but not by 50%, you'd hope. Another one that I like would be Pump and Hyperliquid, because the fees on that have been crazy good. So yeah, that's another strategy. Again, you're going to be farming points on this platform. You're going to be earning yield all over the place. You're going to be farming like 17 million airdrops at the same time, and you're just going to be so rich. It's ridiculous. And this is another platform, similar idea. Hyperswap, this is one of the biggest exchanges, but I prefer this one. This is just launched, and I think it's a little bit more hyped up and potentially could take off. So getting points on this one could be better, and Kinetiq as well. So use any of my links, referral links, that would be appreciated. So that's basically the strategies. Basically all the funding that you earn, this is what you'll see here. This is all your earnings from implementing the strategies, just from the funding rewards. Your P&L does not include your funding that you've paid or received. So again, funding, net funding since the position, funding, here's like basically what they say about it. It's not baked into your P&L. So your funding is just going to get added straight into your USDC perps account. And it's just like the shorts pay the longs and the longs pay the shorts. None of this is going to Hyperliquid. So it's like basically you taking money from the degenerate longs. That's basically what we're trying to farm here. And then all the added steps on top of that, that's just up to you if you want to do them. They're just like maybe a little bit more advanced than some people. Obviously the most easy way is to just use something like Liminal. Again, if you use Liminal, you're going to be farming the Liminal airdrop, and I think that's going to be really good because it's a really good app. But basically that's the strategy. I hope that made it simplified for you, and you know, I gave you a lot of different strategies there that you can, you know, boost your returns. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Use any of my referral links in the description, that would be nice, and thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Cheers.